What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about why I sold all my Ethereum and moved that money into Tesla. A couple weeks ago, I decided to make a big change in my portfolio. I don't make trades that often, and I wanted to update you guys. Hyperchange, this channel is sort of me documenting my investing journey, open sourcing it for the Hyperchange community. I went on Cheddar and talked about why I bought Tesla, but I wanted to make this episode giving you guys a more in-depth breakdown about what went down, my investment rationale. The first part of this video, I'm gonna explain why I think Tesla was such a good buy and why I decided to pull the trigger. Then in the second part of this video, I'm gonna explain why I decided to sell Ethereum. First, why did I like Tesla? I bought in at $255 about 2 weeks ago. This was in the midst of all of that bad news. You know, the fatal autopilot accident, Moody's downgrading Tesla stock. The combination of these factors caused the stock to go to the lowest point in over a year, hit $255 a share. I thought this was an opportunity too good to pass up. While the market was throwing in the towel on the company, they were closer than ever to profitability, to achieving their long-term mission of bringing the Model 3 to market. I mean, at the time of my purchase, the Model 3 production was rumored to be about 2,000 units per week. Annualized, that's 100,000 cars per year. For someone who's been following Tesla for almost 10 years now, to see the Model 3 go from just this idea of a mass market electric car, codename Project Blue Star, to becoming the Model 3, to getting hundreds of thousands of pre-orders, to finally being here, and for Tesla to be producing it at a run rate of 100,000 cars per year. I mean, they've done it. Like, as much as the haters want to say Tesla's horrible at production, throughout the first 3 months of this year, the Tesla Model 3, the Tesla Model X, and the Tesla Model S are the top 3 selling electric vehicles in the country. They're putting up numbers on the board, outselling every other electric vehicle. This cleaner, safer electric future is really playing out. Tesla is leading this vision that they set out to achieve years ago. Nobody thought they could do it. When Tesla first launched the Model S, the big criticism among Wall Street of the company was nobody's gonna buy electric cars. Electric cars is a niche segment, just toys for rich people. It's never gonna go mainstream. Tesla's gonna become this tiny little car maker forever. Now, the narrative of the shorts or the mainstream media for Tesla is every other car company is going electric faster than Tesla. They're gonna do it better than Tesla. Tesla's gonna miss out. As you can tell, the narrative has shifted from nobody will drive electric cars to everybody will drive electric cars. They are inevitably the future. This is a mindset shift that Tesla catalyzed, they pioneered. I believe they are 5 years ahead of everybody in terms of their retail store distribution footprint, battery technology, supercharger network. Tesla's been laying the seeds for an electric future for almost half a decade now, if not more. Every other automaker is finally desperately scrambling to keep up because they're finally realizing and caving in that this is the future. The fossil fuel industrial complex has finally, being shattered because of Tesla single-handedly. So I just think this is an incredible moment in terms of society becoming more sustainable, minimizing our impact on the natural world and environment. I think electric vehicles are a huge step in that direction. And so to see Tesla leading that charge and accelerate the transition to electric vehicles makes me super happy as sort of a tree hugger. Beyond that, let's talk numbers. Tesla at $255 a share, assuming a round of dilution with 185 million shares outstanding, is worth about $47 to $48 billion. Why do I think Tesla is worth buying at $47 or $48 billion? First of all, let's talk about revenue. This company did $11.8 billion in revenue in 2017, so they're trading at about 4 times the revenue they produced last year. But it's important to remember that Tesla's revenue is not stagnating, it's growing rapidly. In fact, since the company's IPO in 2010, the company has grown revenue from 117 million to that 11.8 billion, an increase of over 10,000% in 7 years. This is one of the most rapidly growing companies on the face of the planet right now. I believe that growth will continue rapidly for years as they have already laid out the product roadmap to get them from that 11 or 12 billion in revenue now to well over 50 billion in just the next couple years, in my opinion. Let's walk through that. Model S and Model X selling about 100,000 units combined. That is equivalent to about $10 billion in revenue. The Model 3, I believe in the long term, can be selling about 400,000 units annually at an average selling price of about $50,000. I believe Tesla will achieve that run rate of production and sales around late 2018, maybe early 2019, call it a year from now. That's another $20 billion in incremental revenue. And this is not even assuming anything from the energy or battery business, did over $1 billion in revenue last year. So just from Model S and X and 3 alone, we're looking at a $30 billion revenue run rate within a year. For a company that I'm buying at 48 billion, 30 billion in revenue, that's about a 1.5 times price sales multiple in a year. Why do I think that's a fair multiple? You might say, oh, other automakers are trading at 0.5 times sales. So even at 1.5 times sales, Tesla is 3 times as expensive. Sure, but I believe Tesla will be more than 3 times profitable per car in the long run because of their unique model where they have retail stores, the fact that they're vertically integrated with manufacturing as well. We're already seeing the evidence of this with Tesla's 20% plus gross margins. I believe Tesla will be one of the most profitable car companies in the long term, and that therefore justifying a premium price sales valuation, and that is why I believe 1.5 times price sales is very cheap. Also because I think the company just is going to have gargantuan growth ahead of it even after 30 billion. They're going to bring the Model Y to market starting in early 2020. That could add potentially another $20 billion to Tesla's top line. The Tesla Semi, which already has hundreds of pre-orders, and if they sell 100,000 Tesla Semis per year, which Elon Musk referenced on the last conference call, that would be equivalent to another 18 billion in revenue. So just from the Model Y and the Semi truck alone, we potentially have another 40 billion in revenue to slap on a Tesla. Between the S, X, 3, Y, Semi, we are looking at potentially $70 billion in revenue from those products that are already going to be on the market all in 2020. So to buy this company for 47 billion now, when I see the path for them to be generating 70 billion plus in revenue in just a year or two, and remember, that's not including anything of their energy business, anything of their batteries, anything of their solar roofs, anything that they might build beyond that, like a pickup truck, like the very high margin Roadster. And you might be saying like, oh, they're never going to make money, they're not profitable, it doesn't matter how much revenue they're going to get. Sure, they have never made money, they've been bleeding cash. That's because they've been growing revenue so astronomically quickly that they've been invest everything mode, plow it into growth. They're executing on that, and that's why we're seeing revenue per share compounded plus like 70% a year. I've never seen any sort of company with this type of growth rate at this caliber and scale. You can't even find a software company that is growing this fast, and Tesla is selling physical products. I believe Elon Musk is probably the greatest entrepreneur of our generation. He's like the Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Thomas Edison caliber. What he's doing with SpaceX, he's made rockets reusable. That was something Boeing, Lockheed Martin said was impossible. I mean, this guy is literally redefining what is possible at the greatest frontiers of cutting edge advanced technology. And I believe that disrupting the energy industry and transport industry with Tesla is his long-term vision, and that will result in a several $100 billion market cap. So for me to be buying the company at 47 billion, we already have the roadmaps to see which products will take them to 70 billion plus in revenue. I mean, if you assume that their business model will even remotely work out in the long run and they can produce a profit, then I think the company is very, very cheap at these levels, assuming they execute. Now, this being said, I do want to caveat, Tesla's very risky right now. They have a ton of debt, not much cash. It is crunch time. They need to build the Model 3. They need to do it profitably. There's no question there is significant risk in investing in Tesla. I understand that. I understand the company could go bankrupt. So that is what it is. Part of the reason I went into Tesla is because I'm so confident in my understanding of the company and just because I love Tesla so much. So it's less that I'm not bullish on Ethereum. I do think Ethereum has incredible potential. Their long-term vision of becoming Web 3.0 and the underlying fabric for a network of decentralized applications or dApps to live on top of, be the world's computer on the blockchain, is a fascinating vision for the future that I think could very well be a reality. And if is the case, and Ethereum caps its total token supply at around 120, 200 million, and they are able to achieve that sort of global acceptance and market share dominance, we could see Ethereum, in my opinion, boast a network value of trillions of dollars in the long term, justifying several $1,000s per Ether token. As I'm making this episode, Ethereum's trading at about 500, 520 per token. So I do see a path for mega upside for Ethereum in the long term, but why did I want to sell? When I made this move from Ethereum into Tesla, Ethereum was at about 380, Tesla was about 255. So I've actually, even though I've made money on my Tesla purchase, technically I've kind of lost money because Ethereum's gone up more. So I'm wrong. Of course, this trade could totally be wrong. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is just me telling you what I'm doing because that's what this show is. So the biggest reason I'm less bullish on Ethereum than I have been on this channel in previous months is just because the fundamentals that I follow simply haven't been performing as well as I wanted them to. Specifically, let's start with transactions per day. They peaked at over 1 million in late 2017 and have since been in a steady decline and are now around 500,000 to 600,000 per day. A big backbone of Ethereum becoming this Web 3.0, all these decentralized apps, is we need to be seeing that this network scale to Visa level transactions, hundreds of millions of transactions per day. And the trajectory of them going from 40,000 transactions per day in January 2017 to 1 million in January 2018 showed immense progress. But when that slid down to about 500,000 per day, I'm left wanting a little bit more, especially given the fact that Ethereum around here, $500 per token, let's say, has a network value of about $50 billion. At $50 billion, Ethereum is priced like one of the most expensive software companies in the world. They're only a 4-year-old project. They're led by a 24-year-old Vitalik Buterin, who seems to be a genius and is incredibly smart. So I think he's a great leader. But if you just take a step back, they're only doing 500,000 transactions per day on this network. If you take a look at Dapp Radar, which is the website that shows the most popular dApps on the Ethereum blockchain, there's only a handful of applications with over 1,000 daily active users, only a couple dozen applications with more than 100 daily active users. And if you look at the most popular dApps on the Ethereum blockchain, by far they are exchanges which are used to buy other altcoins built on top of Ethereum, sort of like speculation into what I'd call like penny stocks, or altcoins or ICOs of that nature. So on the Ethereum blockchain, it's not really consumer-facing products, real-world issues getting solved on the blockchain that's their traction. No, it's just platforms for people to buy other altcoins, which is a legitimate use case and maybe the building block of a huge ecosystem one day. But I'd like to see more mainstream things get built on the Ethereum blockchain and gain real traction for it to be worth $50 billion. I would argue that at a $50 billion network value, we're already pricing in one or two, successful viral dApps on the blockchain, and we're not even close to one of them. Till I see a dApp that really impresses me, that I see as disrupting, solving a real world need, I'm not going to be convinced that Ethereum should be worth tens and tens of billions. Beyond that, I'm not a software engineer. I don't understand, code as well as many people out there. I'm still learning and educating myself about the blockchain. So I just have a lot less conviction in something I've only been studying for a year or two than something like Tesla, where I've been studying it for 10 years. So I think that's a big part of my investing rationale, is like, I've been burned so many times on buying what I don't understand. Not that I fully understand what Tesla's doing, but I think I have a much better grasp on their business model. They sell a car, they get money, than what Ethereum is, which is just this incredibly complex global decentralized computer. And also for reference, here you guys can take a look at what my actual holdings in my personal portfolio are. As you can see, Tesla, the only stock I own, about 74%. My number 2 asset is Boring Company flamethrowers. I made a video about why I bought those. I think that's going to be a fascinating little investment. So that's where the rest of my money is. I own this stablecoin governance token called MakerDAO, which is a project I think is fascinating, funded by Andreessen Horowitz. I'm still really trying to research them and understand what they are. I have a video on them in the works, I promise, but I just want to understand them better before I put it out. My number 4 holding is this random crypto asset that's super tiny, so I don't want to mention it. I'm still researching it. And I also want to note that, Maker and this other asset are a big reason that I also was kind of comfortable getting rid of my Ethereum, because I still have these altcoins that are built on top of the Ethereum blockchain that I believe will go up in value if Ethereum goes up in value. So even though I'm not technically owning Ethereum, I do believe I have exposure to its ecosystem by owning these dApps or altcoins built on top of it that will go up if Ethereum goes up. So that was one of the reasons I was comfortable or didn't have as much FOMO getting out of Ethereum. Lastly, I do own a tiny bit of Bitcoin, 0.3%, sentimental amount of Bitcoin, just because I love Bitcoin. As you can see, I'm wearing my, some Bitcoin merch, but I wish I could buy more Bitcoin right now. I don't, the other big part of this is I don't really have any cash. If I had like a ton of money in my bank, there's not a chance I would be selling my Ethereum. I would have just bought more Tesla. But the bottom line is I have no spare capital to invest at all, so I had to sell something, so that's why I picked to sell Ethereum. Anyway, that wraps up this episode. Just kind of wanted to walk you guys through some more rationale of what I'm thinking. I would love to know if you guys have any feedback. Let's start a discussion about this in the comments below. Also, if you like the show and you want to support, please check out our Patreon page. A ton of free perks, free newsletter, I'm doing a merch giveaway. You also get access to Hyperchange, the company's financial reports, to see how we're growing. Just a great little community there, so definitely check it out. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.